The Disrupt Education vlog can be found on YouTube. To hear it in podcast form, search Disrupt Education on any of the following podcast platforms: Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Castbox, Overcast, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Spotify, or Stitcher. Welcome to this episode of Disrupt Education. Emily Richardson. We are right here in Oak Park, Illinois.
In the thick of things.
Right in the middle of everything. So, tell us a little bit about who you are.
So I am going to be a junior at Valparaiso University, your alma mater.
Yep.
And I play softball, and I'm a double major there. I'm majoring in biology and secondary education.
Nice. So, science teacher.
Yes. And part of the reason that I picked it, I would say, is because science scares me. I think it's one of the things that's the most interesting. Mm-hmm. And I think that I probably would be better, fit in a different content area. Mm-hmm. But it's one of the things that pushes me to learn more. So I like that aspect about science and biology specifically.
That's really cool that you're actually scared and you jump into it. Mm-hmm. How did you get that mentality?
So kind of cliche, falling back on softball a lot. That's one of the things that really taught me how to be the person that I am today. And my dad, I have to thank all the time, because he's the one who kind of pushed me to be that person, have the grit personality, somebody that, wants to push outside of the box. Yeah. And I have always been somebody that's worked hard, and I worked hard at the things that I liked. Yeah, right. So when I got to college, I decided that I wanted to do something that maybe I didn't like, or maybe that scared me a little bit more, like biology did. I do think that it would be easy for me to go into like a business class and be in communications, because I'm somebody that is able to communicate pretty well. Right. And I say that with I have total respect for everybody that's in the major. Yeah. But like a lot of my teammates will ask me for help with their business homework, and I'm like, well, I am a biology major, but they think that I'm smart enough to help them with what they're doing. So I was like, that's definitely not for me. You know, something that I already know a little bit about, or something just more that interests me, like science, I think is.
So how hard is it? Like, what were some of the biggest scary parts going from high school into college? How were you in science in high school?
Science in high school, I had two fantastic teachers that really pushed me to kind of think about teaching. Miss Hennings and Miss Bone. Miss Bone, we had a really personal relationship. Like I babysat for her kids. She was one of those people that I really looked up to and was like, I could definitely see myself being, her in 15, however many years.
We're old teachers
now. No way. But And Miss Hennings too, she was the kind of person that was very about the books and making sure that you're getting stuff done every single night. And I wasn't that student. Yeah. Like, I am not the student that gets stuff done right away. And that was my struggle through my junior, senior, and then freshman year of college. I kind of tanked my first year. Yeah. And that's not to say that I didn't do well, because I did. I did just well enough. And kind of the addition of softball, like I did very well in that. So then I decided that I was going to look more to what I did best. Okay. And then that's kind of when I reevaluated for my sophomore year. I had another not as great semester, which kind of made me realize, like, I really have to get my stuff together here. And then this past semester, I kind of have begun to use what I use in softball towards my schooling. Yeah, explain that. So when I got to Valpo, my pitching coach, she's like, you're good. We have the basics here. Right. But we're going to completely strip you down and kind of go, start from the ground up. Wow. Which sucked. Humbling. It was, 100%. Yeah. It sucked. It was terrible, and there was a lot of work to be done, and I didn't know exactly what I was supposed to do. Yeah. And so, the thing that she kept saying was trust the process. And of course, like Joel Embiid, like he's all about it. And I'm a Kansas fan, so I had to trust the process. So my dad bought me a shirt, and then there it was. And really it was learning about what the process is. Because part of it is realizing that you don't know what you're doing until you're in the thick of things.
Right.
And my dad, when I was growing up, always said, like, hey, if you're going to go out there, like, give it your all, whether it's 3 innings or 7 innings or 14 innings, whatever it may be, leave it all out in the field. And that went in one ear and right out the other. And then I got to college and I pitched in my first fall game. And then I sat down with him at dinner and I was like, you know what? Nothing is going to happen to me if I fail.
Yeah.
My scholarship is not going to be cut here, right now.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to hate me. Nobody's going to really see this score because they don't even post the scores on our website for fall games.
Yeah.
So I was like, what do I have to lose?
Wow.
And
that's a worldview.
That was the moment that I realized what he had been saying to me all my life was making sense.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until that I was in that exact moment that I got it.
Wow.
And he was so mad at me. He's like, I've been telling you for so long.
I think I'd be happy. I'd be like, but you know.
But and so he texted me later on that night. He's like, I guess like that's how it works.
Right.
You don't know until you know.
Right.
And that's why I think it took me so long to realize about the school part of it.
Right.
I'm not the person. I have to fail like 5 or 6 times before I get something, and not fail in the literal sense where I would get an F.
Right.
I wouldn't let that happen. But I'm the kind of person that has to work a bunch at it before I really get into it, or find it a priority. And softball has always been a priority, so I have always, built time for that. Made sure that I'm doing work and really working towards that goal, which is whatever it may be.
Right.
And so like this process, goal, outcome kind of thing has been the focus of, just who I am for the past 2 years, really.
Yeah.
So softball, my freshman year, it went well. I pitched more than I expected to.
Right.
And keeping in mind that process, goal, outcome, like making sure that I'm focusing more on the process is a huge deal.
Right.
And then I started applying it to school.
Right, yeah.
And then I realized that school is not as hard as you think it is if you really put the time in.
That's interesting the way that you frame that up. I think that, one of my questions is then, an athlete, as an athlete, and I was a high school athlete, I didn't go into college and play, but you are in the thick of things, right? When you're in the game, it's game time, right? You're in the thick of things. How do you suppose in education do you get that student in the thick of things?
And that is a question that was raised to me by the professor that I talked to today. He said that one of his football players came and talked to him and said, like, every week you practice because you have a game on Saturday. And the closest thing you have to a game in school is a test. Yeah. But tests are not nearly as fun as game day.
No, not at all.
And so like that's kind of what I've been working on this summer, how to figure out how to put that process-oriented focus onto the students and have like the professors or the teachers think about the goals. Like the goals are in sight, everybody should be able to know the goals, but how do we build up those little things to get to this overarching goal? Yeah, right. And so like that's honestly one of the questions that have been raised since I've been doing this research. Right. And I guess I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one because I don't know yet.
I think that's what education, like we're looking into, is how do you do that, because there's so many easy ways to play it safe. Yeah. Which is so intriguing with you jumping into science because it's something that scares you. That's a rarity, and I think it's a gem, obviously, because you get it. So let's go then into like high school or traditional systems. With that being in mind, or maybe you want to go somewhere else with it, how would you change a high school-ish system to better accommodate everybody in that moment?
Yeah. So when I was on my drive here, I was listening to a few more podcasts from people. I think I listened to like Tommy Herner and Nariah, I don't know Griffin. Sure. I listened to a couple of them today actually. And I kept finding myself falling back on this process goal thing. Yeah. And it's difficult to stop what you're doing in the middle of the year or in the next year and teach teachers, to completely change what they're teaching or how they're teaching. And I think that is what scares a lot of people also. Changing a system. We've been by this system by when Thomas Jefferson wrote
right.
that we have to, this is how we're going to teach it, and like everyone should have free public education. And it's the thing that I kept falling back on is that there's something to learn in every class. And I think one of your guests said that you might not use calculus when you're older. You might not use Shakespeare.
Yeah.
But you might find something in that class that's for you.
Yeah.
Whether it's how a teacher conveys something, or the personality that they have, the respect they have for you, the kind of, all those little pieces. You might not use calculus,
right,
but you might use something that is a skill that's going to build your toolbox, which,
right,
it could be problem solving, or how to work with people, or your communication skills. And I think that high schools have to focus on teaching those things. If you see something in someone, or you see a lack of something in someone, those are the pieces that you have to kind of highlight on, and really go back to something if there's disconnection between the person and the content that they're learning.
Right. I think that's a good point. Is the more research that I do, and which is interesting, is how you're being taught as a teacher, which is very refreshing, like to know the person along with the curriculum.
Yeah.
So that's very cool. So you have 17-year-old who is kind of in your situation right now. I'm hypothetical, junior or senior. What do you tell them? What do you tell them about the next level of education, whatever it may be?
Yeah. I was listening to Sydney Babington's talk, and she said a lot of good things to say about a gap year. And I don't oppose any kind of year after high school, or depending on what you want to do. If you want to go work somewhere and go to school part-time, or if you want to take the year off, travel the world, like, by all means do your thing, but really focus in on the things that you can learn. You're not going to Europe to party and to, see art, unless, if that's what you really want to study.
Right.
Really take in the things that are around you, because in any situation you're able to learn. And that's the thing about humans. We have this ability to learn. You can't look at a dog and be like, oh, they're learning stuff all the time.
Right.
We have the ability to use our knowledge and to further that. So that's one of the things. I would say look for knowledge in everything you do. Oh,
that's fantastic. Where can people find you online?
Oh my gosh. I'm on Instagram as Emmy1034, EMI1034. Twitter, EMI Christina without an H, Christina without an H. Okay. 1010.
We'll put all that down
here.
Sure.
Oh my gosh.
Now look out. You're gonna blow up online.
No chance. No
Look,
chance.
I appreciate it. I think it's amazing that you're stepping into something that scares you. I think that's gonna make you even more powerful as a teacher. Powerful may not be but more effective in relating to people, because I think in order for us to actually teach others, we really need to get uncomfortable ourselves. And that's so cool. You're way better than I was at the level of education of teaching when I was your age, but I really appreciate it. We're gonna look for a lot of things to come with you.
All right, thanks.
Awesome.
I hope I'm back at Oak Park.
Oh yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
See.
Well, we'll see you guys next time on Disrupt Education.
Bye-bye.